Yes indeed, I'm walking. I don't know where. Just down a long straight road. I've got a bag full of water for dogs. The last of my tobacco. That's about it. Oh, €10. If I've not spent the €10 by this evening, I shall turn that into a few cans of lager and a fresh packet of tobacco. No food, you notice. Living the dream. There are two types of people on this earth. Those that think they're important and those that think I'm the kind of fella that rejoices in the happiness of others. Christmas, I enjoy watching people opening their presents. Not a big fan of the presents that I have to open, especially as I've got older. No more sticker bricks, no more Steve Austin dolls. Generally socks or some shit you don't want anyway. And over the last few years, due to poverty and actually not having anyone around that cares about me or I care about, I've not really had to suffer it. It's beautiful here. Truly beautiful. Really beautiful. Everywhere I go. Beautiful. Fucking boring, innit? There are people in this world who can only be happy if those around them are miserable. And they're still not even happy, really. They're just not as miserable as the people around them. At one time, I wouldn't have given a shit. But these days I do. Simply because I don't have to put up with it anymore. I did for the last few years. I had to put up with some terrible stuff. Especially towards the end. But all that's gone now. All in the past. It became someone else's future. I know I sort of feel sorry for whoever suffers next. You can't help it, can you? You can't end suffering, you can't help other people. You can't make other people okay. And you shouldn't even fucking try. I'm learning that anyway. Hey, look. Hey. I set off walking this morning and I've not really explored far outside the village or the neighbouring town. I've got a decent sense of direction, you know. So I picked a road. I picked a road and started walking. I thought I'd be able to wander. What the fuck was that? Anyway, I had an idea that there was an old disused railway line which must cross the river, so it'd be a case of go straight to the railway line, turn left over the river, turn left, sooner or later I'm going to be back home, aren't I? Turns out fucking railway line's a long way away. As I mentioned, I think, in my most recent blog post, I've been here once before, when I was, I think, 19, with a girl called Julie. In that last blog post, I described how a bunch of possibly rabid dogs tore all my possessions to pieces and pissed over what was left. It's actually funnier than it sounds, although it wasn't at the time. But like I always say, no matter how bad something is, give it enough time, it will be nothing more than a funny story. There's a few exceptions, you know. Bridge over the River Kwai was a bit of a shitter, I'm sure. Can't see people doing much forgiving for that. Anyway, I'm rambling. Particular day in question happened just after the dogs had done what they did. Alright, Ron. Bit of a cough. Hay fever. I found ourselves walking to the next town. We looked on the map, didn't look that far, 20 miles or so. So we set off, thumbs out. Someone always pulled up to give us a lift, except this time they didn't. And all I was wearing was a pair of bright orange shorts, a yellow t-shirt, cap sleeved, one Nike trainer and one leather sandal. If you've not read the blog, that'll sound a bit weird, but... And we walked into the sun all day. And at some point, Julie had decided to put some blackcurrant cordial in our drinking water, which we carried in metal military style water cans, and it cooked and it tasted fucking awful. And for the first time in my life, I honestly thought nature was going to kill me. 10 hours we walked for, most of it without water. But eventually we arrived at a campsite. I was fucking purple. 3 days I had to stay in that fucking tent. 3 days. With that trip very much in mind, and knowing that I'd be walking along at least one very long straight road. I'm dressed in a shirt and jeans and proper walking boots. I've also got more water than the dogs could possibly need. I'm not putting any fucking blackcurrant in it either. Well, we stopped off for a little drink and a snack. Except I've forgotten to bring snacks for me. Which is about part of the course really. Still, as long as my babies are happy. I still refer to it as home, Blighty, even though I don't like the place anymore. Iconoclasm. Terrible thing. But back home, there's a bunch of crows used to settle on a tree. A tree at the back of the shithole that I rented. Every morning they'd caw and crackle and flap and make a nuisance of themselves, but I got quite attached to them. I stand out there coughing and trying to clear my lungs of all the fucking mould that my landlord's stealing properties are bury. I think my landlords were making me have to suffer. I didn't realise how ill I was getting back then until I got here. Back then I could walk maybe half a mile easily. The rest of the time I'd be in pain, stopping, starting, coughing, spitting the most horrible shit onto the floor. Today I've already walked 6 miles, stopped twice to give the dogs a drink. I feel fucking wonderful. Right, dogs? I do, however, miss the crows. As with every journey, I come to a fork in the road. I didn't know whether to go left or right, so I let dogs choose. Turns out, my fucking dogs are shit guides. There's a park bench there. I've ended up fucking miles away. What's 10 kilometres in English money? Yeah, well. They're having a great time. And as if by magic, right up ahead, there's another possible left turn. I wish I could speak French or I knew where either of those places were. My shit knowledge of geography aside though, that steeple there looks familiar. Finally I found my way home, as you can see from the trendy clothes. And I'm off out again now. All the shops shut between 12 and 2, so I've had to wait. And I'm off into town to buy that tobacco and beer that I mentioned earlier, which is another bloody long walk. You can't fucking moan at this, can you? I've noticed I'm doing a lot of swearing at the minute. Do apologise. But it's not the BBC, is it? We're about to walk up a street that's known colloquially and only by the expats, which is what the economic migrants around here call themselves, is known as Cat Shit Alley. And it's a gorgeous alley. It's a bit like, you know, the elephant's graveyard out of Tarzan, where elephants used to come to die and leave deposits of ivory. Around here, the cats come to defecate and leave deposits of cat shit. But it's very pretty. Take a look. Can't knock that, can you? Turns out the fella that owns the shop that I was going to takes an extra long siesta, or whatever the French is for siesta, lunch break, and won't be open till 3:15. Fuck that up, Anna. I'm gonna melt. So I might as well go and explore, get off the beaten track. So this beaten track doesn't seem to lead anywhere. It's someone's very, very nice garden. People have a habit of having guns around here. I think I'll get back to the beaten track. Judging by the length of the raw footage I've already got stored on here, this is going to be one hell of a long one. Nah. I mean, one hell of a long entry. Nah, that sounds rude as well, doesn't it? I really do need to start scripting these things instead of just wandering around, pointing a camera at myself and babbling about whatever shit comes into my head. When I write a blog, I've got a delete button, copy and paste. I can read it 10 times with a coffee and a pipe and at least make it make sense. These things just seem to cut off in the middle of the